Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah. I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard.
From the field to the film room to the war room, we've got you covered every step of the way as the road to the draft starts right now on BGN Radio. Hello and welcome to another episode of the BGN Draft Show. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter and YouTube at Shane Haff NFL. I'm joined today by my co-host and fellow draft enthusiast Deibs. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. Be sure to check out his podcast, Party on Broad. Deibs, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. Steamrolling into week 13. We've got a three-headed monster of a race for Heisman, man. Whether it's Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., man. One wild finish to the 2023 college football season.
All right. Also joined by Ryan Reis. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan filling in with us for the second week in a row here. You can check out all of his stuff, all of his work with Philly Sports Alliance. He does podcasts with Deibs. He does podcasts with me. He's all over our feeds if you're following us already. So he will be no stranger. But Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
Good. I'm glad I got the call back 2 weeks in a row. I'm doing a nice little streak here. But yeah, glad to be here and talking prospects and talking birds.
It is always nice when you get to the end of that first tryout, that first date, if you will, and you exchange numbers and you're like, hey, don't call me, I'll call you. And then they actually call you, right?
Yeah, I was, oh man, I was smiling ear to ear when I got the call.
All right. Well, let's recap our player of the week predictions from a week ago. Deibs is shaking his head.
I hate you.
Because this was heartbreaking for Deibs. Early on Saturday, Bo Nix from Oregon goes 24 of 29 for 404 yards. He throws 6 touchdown passes. And I messaged Deibs and I congratulated him on winning our contest for the week. There's no way that Jaden Daniels is going to top that. And then he did. Jaden Daniels goes 25 of 30, one more completion for 413 yards, like 8 more yards. He also threw for 6 touchdowns, but he added 96 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns as well, meaning Jaden Daniels wins the Player of the Week award. So I edged Deibs out. I can't believe it.
Amazing.
Deibs couldn't believe it. And Deibs is very upset about it this week.
I'm very upset because I thought you were kidding at first because I don't remember these. I do so many shows in a week that I thought Shane was playing a prank on me because I thought I had this one in the bank. Like it was like Saturday early afternoon. I was having some drinks. We were having a good time. I think we went to our indoor pool next door, and sure enough, Jaden Daniels just lights it up. And you were right, man. Again, man, these guys are playing at their best in some crucial games. So it's all fun.
Yeah, all fun. Deibs literally said he went and rewatched the show to make sure I wasn't lying about who I picked. So, all right. Well, we'll get to player of the weeks here in a little bit. But before we do that, we're going to we will each give you an Eagles prospect to keep an eye on this week. Someone that we think could interest the Eagles come draft day. So let's talk top Eagles targets of the week. All right, top Eagles targets of the week. Deibs, lead us off here. Who are you picking this week?
A guy that I really like, and Ryan will be talking about him tomorrow on Party on Broad as one of our top 10 edge rushers in this draft. But it is Princely Umamielen, an edge rusher out of Florida. If you guys love edge rushers with tools and elite length and elite physical foundations, man, this is the guy for you. Really good burst, great bend. When you watch the tape, you can tell he's a twitch athlete, a natural athlete, arguably one of the best athletes in this edge rusher class. You kind of like on the surface, the surface stats don't really pop, but like, don't let that fool you, man. This guy has been causing consistent pressure, getting to the quarterback every single week. This guy's, more of a projection. You're looking at this guy, not necessarily in 2024, but 2026, 2027. I think he's a solid run defender. I think he does a lot of things really, really well. And I think he's got first-round talent. I think he absolutely has upside to be a 3-down player in the NFL. Again, a guy that you're looking down the road versus a plug-and-play talent. So for me, I'm looking at this guy having or becoming a big problem for Florida State this week. Florida State just lost Jordan Travis, a horrible injury. And I wish him a speedy recovery. That was one of the worst moments of my weekend, considering how well he's played and how important he is to that Florida State offense. But Florida State plays Florida in a big rivalry game, and this guy has real potential to, be a big problem for Florida State for that backup quarterback. So make sure you know Princely Umamielen, because I think this guy is first-round upside.
All right, so there you go, a guy you can keep an eye on in the Florida game this weekend. Ryan, what do you have for us? Who's somebody the Eagles should be keeping an eye on?
So anybody who knows me knows that I do love my linebackers. And I have chosen to talk about Steve Linton, linebacker from Texas Tech. He started out with Syracuse, transferred over to Texas Tech. He has an absolute outstanding closing burst. And he really does have a unique ability to finish plays, and just really has that rough and toughness, as a run defender, and absolutely dropping some big hits. His coverage skill certainly needs a little bit of work, but his flexibility, his bend, his kind of turnability is really good, and has been developing while in college. I will say, as far as maybe a weakness, obviously size. He's kind of on the smaller size, obviously, and can really get lost in some blocks. Short arms, and doesn't really have a whole lot of elite upper body strength. So something to certainly work on in the next level. Probably somebody that's going to be in the middle of day 3, probably a fourth, fifth round kind of guy. But certainly somebody that I think can come in and really, be useful on special teams and kind of develop, as he is kind of a raw prospect. But, he has played some edge as well. So he does have a really good, unique ability to kind of be a little versatile. And we all know the Eagles do love a little versatility. So,
and I love that you picked a guy you think is in that late day 2 or day 3 range, because that's the Eagles, right? They're not going to spend a first or a second round pick on a linebacker. So Ryan digging deep and giving you a legitimate linebacker target that the Eagles could shoot for. I love it.
You unknowingly just ruined Ryan's day, because he's the biggest Jeremiah Trotter Jr. fan there is.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. If it makes you feel better, I was doing an Eagles mock draft on PFF the other day, and I had to stop when I got Jeremiah Trotter in the 3rd round, and then I got Cedric Van Pran in the 4th round. I was like, "Yep, we're just not ready for mock draft."
Time to update the systems.
It's a sad time of the year as draft nerds when the simulators just aren't updated at all, and it just ruins it. It's very I didn't even think about Van Pran. I was like, he's gone, and then he shows up as like the best player available in the 4th round. Let's just X this one out.
Yeah, he's arguably the #1 center prospect in this draft.
Yeah, I will No, that maybe that's for a different show, but I will go ahead and say he is inarguably the #1 center prospect. So, okay, I'll give you my player to keep an eye on for the Eagles. It is South Carolina with receiver Xavier Legette. This guy is so much fun to watch. He is 6'3", 227 pounds. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school. In his first 4 seasons with South Carolina, he had a combined 42 receptions for 423 yards. This year, through 11 games, he has 65 receptions for 1,187 yards and 7 touchdowns. He's also a finalist for the Bolitnikoff Award. He is speed. He hit 22.3 miles per hour on the GPS trackers on a 77-yard touchdown against Mississippi State earlier this year. For reference, the fastest speed anyone has hit in the NFL this season is Tyreek Hill at 22.01 miles per hour on a 64-yard touchdown. So he's hit a faster speed than Tyreek did, but it's not just long speed. Like, his acceleration is like instant, man. He's very good in contested catch situations. He's got strong hands at the catch point. I think he does a good job using his frame to leverage defenders. He had 8 contested catches so far this season, and he's not just a speed guy. Like, he's willing to make difficult catches over the middle of the field. I think he's got really good balance, like coming out of his breaks, and it allows him to ramp his speed back up quickly. Now, I will say he is an older prospect who only thrived in his final season, and that is sometimes concerning. And while he's dominating people physically, it's not like being a year older just made him faster. Like, he's not just stronger than guys. He's so fast. But he will be 23 years old on draft night, so that could be concerning a little bit. He also struggles to find the appropriate spots to sit down versus zone coverage. So that's something to keep an eye on. He's a lot easier to cover in zone than he is in man. Obviously, you'd kind of expect that with somebody that fast. But I think he could go anywhere from like early day 2 to mid day 1 to potentially like early day 1 if he ends up breaking a 4.3 at the combine, because teams love that. So he can also play in the slot or out wide. He's played about 70% of his snaps wide, about 30% in the slot. So he's a guy you can move around a little bit. And Deibs has the comp here of maybe the next Deebo Samuel, and I think that's an apt comparison. So he's a guy I'm really excited. I think he could. There's a wide range of where he could go depending on how he tests in the off seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good luck trying to rank your top 10 wide receivers in this year's draft. It is deep. It is all over the place. Like, after the first 3, 4, or 5, like, it's just pick your poison. They're amazing. The depth at the wide receiver position is so much fun.
Yeah. All right, so that's some Eagles targets to keep an eye on. Now we're going to transition. We're going to talk Player of the Week predictions.
You can't manage this, can't break this bar funded, gotta keep my distance when you not 100, From the same will say they low, you lay they funny, You can't match my energy, and yeah, you know it, Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold, Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold.
All right, Player of the Week predictions. Deibs trying to make up for last week when Jaden Daniels just stole his glory from Bo Nix. Deibs, do you want to tell the class about copying my homework this week?
Yeah, if you can't beat them, join them. I'm jumping on the Jaden Daniels train. We already know about Jaden Daniels. He has become the 11th player in FBS history to pass for 3,000 yards and run for 1,000 in a season. The dude had more touchdowns than incompletions last week. He's just incredible. He tied Joe Burrow's single game program record set back in the Peach Bowl with 8 touchdowns. That was back in 2019. This is coming off a 606-yard performance the previous week. The numbers he's putting up is astronomical, man. It's really fun. So I'm just going to jump on that train. And Daniels has a really fun test in week 13 against Texas A&M. The Aggies allow under 20 points per game, which ranks 26th nationally, third among LSU's opponents, given their schedule. The Aggies defense holds teams to 28% on third down. That's the 7th best percentage in the country. And I think a big piece of that is Texas A&M's versatility and physicality on that defensive line. They've got a lot of guys that can kind of play different positions, move around, and things like that. So Jaden Daniels, I think, will put up monster stats. But, you know, if he wants to be the Heisman and or leapfrog Bo Nix, who is the odds favorite right now, he's got a great test in Texas A&M.
I was this close to taking Malik Neighbors just to try to like cling to that hot streak as well. But I ended up going a different direction. But I thought about it for the same reasons you're talking about Daniels there. So, all right. So Jaden Daniels for Deibs. Ryan, who is your player of the week prediction?
You know, I'm going to go with another Heisman candidate. I'm going to go Michael Penix Jr. He's got a great matchup against Washington State. You know, I really do like, you know, his season so far. Like I said, he is right up there. And the Huskies are, you know, right there in the mix for that playoff spot. So, you know, if they want to be there, they gotta dominate Washington State, and I think they will do exactly that.
All right, and I am attaching myself to Michael Penix Jr. because I'm going to take wide receiver Rome Odunze. He has 100 or more yards in 7 of 11 games this year. And in 3 of the other 4, he still went over 80 yards. In each of the last 2 games, he's faced ranked teams in Utah and Oregon State, and he's pulled in 2 touchdowns in each game. Now he faces a Washington State secondary that's allowing 242 passing yards per game, which ranks 101st in the NCAA. Washington State opened the season with 4 straight wins, and then they lost 6 in a row before they stopped the bleeding last week against Colorado. And in the last 3 games, they've only allowed 164 passing yards after Shadur Sanders left with an injury, but still 150 and 142. So they haven't allowed over 170 yards in either of their last 3 games. They haven't faced Washington. And they were really bad earlier in the year. Michael Penix Jr. is going to be looking to regain his status as Heisman favorite over Bo Nix. I think Washington might light them up like a Christmas tree. So Rome Odunze is my player of the week prediction. So double dipping there in that game with Ryan. We'll probably steal votes from each other.
Yep. So I make these winners of the week videos every single week, probably about anywhere ranging from like 4 to 8 players that really dominated every single college football week. Rome Odunze is by far the number 1 guy. He's got 4 nods this season, man. He's a gamer. All he does is catch touchdowns. All he does is make big plays in big moments. And, I mean, all you have to do is watch the game last week when Washington had a huge 3rd down, when they had to convert a huge 3rd down. Michael Penix Jr. just threw the ball up to Rome Odunze, who made a play on the ball. Game over. That's how good he is, man. He's elite as it gets. And if he's there for the Eagles at the back end of round 1. I know, again, I've said this 1,000 times on this show. It's a luxury pick, but he can do it all, and he would be an amazing addition.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our game of the week. There are some good games this weekend. For our game of the week, we're doing Ohio State, number 2 Ohio State, at number 3 Michigan at noon on Saturday. You can also check out number 11 Oregon State at number 6 Oregon Friday night at 8:30. You got some Black Friday shopping. Come home, turn on the game on Friday night. A lot of great games this weekend, but Ohio State, Michigan, both teams are 11-0. They are both looking to get into the college football playoff. They are among the most bitter rivals in college sports. The winner will head to Indianapolis to face Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, while the loser could be on the outside looking in come playoff time. So Michigan comes in on a 2-game win streak in the series. They bring the number 1 scoring defense in the nation. Ohio State, they're slacking a little bit. They've only got the number 2 scoring defense in the nation. So battle of heavyweight defenses. Michigan is a 3.5-point favorite with an over-under set at 47.5. Ryan, I'll throw it to you. How do you see this game playing out? What are you watching for?
Yeah, I mean, listen, anybody who is a fan of college football knows this matchup every year, and it is absolutely elite. Even if the teams are average, they're still a fantastic games. The fact that, you have two, Ohio State's 2, Michigan's 3, right? Or is it the other way around?
Ohio State's 2, Michigan's 3. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you have two of these guys in your top 3, who all should be in this college playoff. But yeah, the winner secures, pretty much almost guarantees them in the playoffs. And I mean, like I said, this is always a heavyweight fight, and it's absolutely, there's some added intrigue with Harbaugh not being there, and with his suspension, and again, this is always such a fun game to watch. Even if you hate both of these teams, it is absolutely always a game to watch. Always.
All right, Dives, what do you have for us on this one?
Yeah, it's it boils down to a few things. Number one, which quarterback's going to be at their best? You've got J.J. McCarthy for Michigan, who has a record of kind of struggling against really good teams, in big moments. And you've got Kyle McCord, who's probably playing some of his best football in recent weeks. Ohio State's offense has been playing really well, while Michigan's offense is kind of up and down. It's kind of been a roller coaster year, given they haven't even played that many good teams. For Ohio State, it starts and ends with Travion Henderson. This was a guy that heading into this season was my number 1 running back in the country. He was hurt, and the last few weeks, he has been on an absolute tear since returning from injury. You look at last week, 3 of 4 games since returning from injury, he's ran for at least 100 yards, some over 200 with total yards from scrimmage. Against Minnesota last week, Henderson had 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Henderson, and whether or not that amazing run defense from Michigan can hold him or contain him, is a great matchup. So for me, you also have to look at the other end. So this game's all about run defense, because Ohio State, their run defense is really good, but in big games like Notre Dame and Rutgers, they've kind of gotten killed. Each of those teams, Notre Dame and Rutgers, had at least 170 yards on the ground, 4.5 yards per carry. Blake Corum is the best running back Ohio State will match up against this season. So for me, it's really 2 things. It's both offenses, and it's A, which quarterback makes big throws and limits turnovers, limits mistakes, and B, which team can kind of cement their will physically on the line and establish a running game. So because both of these teams are excellent when it comes to stopping the run, and both teams are kind of the 2 best running teams in the country.
And C, how many of Ohio State's signals does Michigan have?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's the thing that college football does not want, right? Michigan getting in, if they win, they get a bid into a college football playoff with Harbaugh returning, and that's going to be the number 1 story on everyone's blog, on all social media. It'll be the talking point everywhere.
Yeah, collectively, college football is rooting for Ohio State to win this football game. That's for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Also, another really fun matchup is Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Will Johnson. Marvin Harrison Jr., we all know about him, top 5 pick this year. Will Johnson is an underclassman who will be a top 10, top 15 pick. He's a cornerback for Michigan, phenomenal player. So that matchup one-on-one is going to be really fun.
All right. Well, that is going to about do it for this episode. You guys drop a comment on the YouTube video here. Let us know who you think is going to win the game. We can see the timestamps. Don't be dropping it after the game's over, acting like you picked the score right. But we appreciate you guys checking out the episodes every week. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the BGN Draft Show. If you enjoyed the show, be sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all the shows on the BGN radio feed. Johnny and I will be recording an On the Shane page that should be dropping maybe for your Thanksgiving drive. You get BGN radio. You get the instant reaction show after the Eagles beat the Bills on Sunday. It's going to be a great week, so make sure you keep it tuned right here. Check us out on Twitter. I'm at Shane Haff NFL. Deibs is at Mr. Crockpot. Ryan is at Philly Sports PSA. And we will catch you guys next week for another episode of the BGN Draft Show. Go Birds.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard.